Well, the goal of the Backyard Habitat program is really to work with urban residents and to be able to support and teach them how to garden sustainably and to support biodiversity and how our backyards play a really important role in broader conservation work. There's like this idea called flower constancy. So when a bee comes up in the morning and is about to pollinate, it wants to pollinate a lot of the same plant. So you want to have patches of the same plant. You can have like flat flowers and flowers that are kind of more bold in their structure. That also supports pollinators.
This whole thing started out as just a love of the doing, because people see the bees, especially here because they can come nearby, or they can stay away if they have a fear of the bees. Normally I see people coming closer, and I see people bringing their children over, especially to some of the plants that really draw bees, and looking at the bees, and it gives them a chance to see that the bees they don't want to hurt you, they just want to eat their food. And the whole focus of my gardening is to have this entire perimeter, and even on that side, on the other side of the driveway, be zero plants. I don't know if you're familiar with zero plants. So they will need, this is pretty established, it's not finished. This is new, so I did water it a little bit. But this, next summer, unless it's even more of a scorcher than this summer, I shouldn't have to water it even one time. And the plants, in fact, would prefer to not be watered. The garden doesn't have any pesticides or sprays or weed killers in it at all. Really what's key is finding the right place for what you are willing to do for the plant. For instance, the penstemon barely need water. Cut them back once or twice in the year. So super low maintenance, and that is basically true. You could do the same of virtually everything that's in here.
One of my specialties as a landscape contractor and interest and passions is water gardening, and the pond over to the side here, a wonderful space for the birds, all the insects, the fish. It all brings a lot of enjoyment in creating an ecosystem.
Designed it so that there's year-round interest and something going on in every season. Right now, it's been a very long and dry summer, and despite that, the stems of the plants, the annuals that we planted, those will be habitat for next year's pollinators. So we want to keep those in place, even though they may look dead. They are serving a really vital role in the habitat.
We had the opportunity this year to kind of take over this area out here. I really wanted perennials as part of it, both to attract pollinators and to have some year-round interest. It's also a way to showcase our education programs. From a beekeeper perspective, I think this really goes along with any kind of successful space, is to just have overlapping seasons of bloom. As far as flavor for the bees too, they don't want to eat the same thing, and that's also beautiful. There are amazing pollinator plants out there that aren't native, but as far as the bees are concerned, height, structure, variety, and the different bloom time is really critical.
We're a 60-acre farm, and we grow this wide diversity of crops, everything from multiple kind of fruit, about 50 or 60 vegetable varieties, to cut flowers and things like that. So our pollination needs really kind of span the gamut. And although right behind me you see some European honeybee hives, which we have a number of on the farm, The fact is that most of our pollination is probably done by native pollinators other than the European honeybees. So we have a variety of different bees that are native to this area, wasps, and things like, and other kinds of insects. So when we think of sort of a farm-wide sort of pollinator plan, although the honeybees are always predominant in our mind because we of course like the honey and they're at some level a species that we are cultivating and managing like any other crop because we manage these hives actively, etc. All those native pollinators are things that we are also always thinking about, and it's a little bit more hands-off. Most of those kinds of insects tend to kind of nest in the ground or in brush piles or up on trees, so we're not actively managing their habitat, but we are always trying to provide habitat, and more importantly, we're trying to provide nectar sources for them year-round so that they can survive and thrive.
A lot of the plants in this garden were sort of picked specifically to help provide pollen and nectar sources for the bees, especially in seasons where they don't have as many opportunities to collect pollen and nectar. If you support the pollinators, we're actually supporting ourselves. And I think we're so disconnected from, a lot of us are, disconnected from our food and how it's actually made and what it needs to be grown, that we don't realize that, so that's another really important piece of our education here, to help people understand where their food comes from and how it's grown.